Alrighty, I think we're good to go. I want to check something out here too, but as usual, please let me know if you can see me and hear me, if everything's okay, and then we will start. Let's see if my preview stream is going to show me frantically rushing to get back in my chair. It always goes a few minutes before I actually start, or a few seconds. Let's see. Nope. Alright, cool. That was alright. Alright, so if you're not familiar with what's going on here, what the hell is this weird person doing? My name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and this is where we do a live Q&A. You ask me questions, I give you answers to the best of my ability. Some questions I won't answer, but it's not for lack of reading them. Just making sure everything is kosher here. Alright, I think we're good to go. So yeah, I always give a little brief update of what's going on. Obviously my review output was crap this week. I was just so busy and tired going back from the holidays, but I have a couple of previews. I have a lot of previews I have to shoot this weekend, but I also am going to intersperse some filming of reviews. I think in the very immediate future, I know I've said this before, you're going to see Zombie Tower 3D and The Terrifying Girl Disorder, 2 Japanese games. You are going to see reviews for... sometime soon you're going to see all of the CV games. So CV, the expansion, CV Gossip, and then Civilizations. You're going to see reviews of those. I will give you a... well, never mind. Then, let's see, what else in the near future? I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't quite worked out... There's some games I need to play again that I might get to tonight, but then I might do some brand new games and see if I can just spam those and play them enough to... I don't know. It's going to be a crapshoot, but there's some interesting stuff coming up. Maybe that game Fuse, if you've heard of that. I'd like to try that one out tonight, and that looks really quick, I hope. So I can play it multiple times. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the questions. I have an unboxing. Do you guys want to see an unboxing real quick? Let's do an unboxing and let the questions pile up a bit. It doesn't look like there's too many questions and there's not too many people watching. So while I'm doing this is something I was going to say, well, this isn't really worthy of an official unboxing video. So I'm splitting the difference and I'll do it on my live Q&A. So, but if you guys can please share and on Facebook and Twitter, that'd be fantastic. Or whatever social media you use. Those are the only two I ever bother with. And not even Twitter, apparently. My Twitter account sucks. I don't do enough with it. And I've only got not even 2,000 followers, which is sad, really sad compared to other people who are even less than me in subscribers and things. But I don't do Twitter. I don't do much with it. I just put my whenever I post a new review or video, I post there, but that's it. Whereas Facebook, I'm very active on, and so my Facebook page has over 2,000 likes, which they're not equivalent. It's much more difficult to get likes than followers, so I'm very happy with that. But anyways, let's do this. So what the unboxing is finally, I think it's been 2 years, Tono-Quore Oktoberfest showed up at my door, and believe it or not, this enormous box is Tono-Quore Oktoberfest. Let me go to my other camera feed here, because I ordered the big box, which is to say there's a huge, not huge box, but it's a big box able to hold all of the expansions and base sets for Tono-Quore. Alright, so I'm just making sure everything's okay. I never actually looked to see if people could hear me or see me. So, that would have been embarrassing! You didn't miss much. Alright, so let's do it real quick. I will say this, and my expectations for the big box are low because they sent us a message just a few weeks ago saying, so we got the boxes from the manufacturer and they're not really worth the $50 we charged for. So we're going to give you a free playmat to make up the difference. So I'm expecting a very crappy box. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they just have really high standards of quality. But it's Japan anime games, so... oh, boy. Alright. This is mostly air, despite the size of it. Alright, so here's the non-showstopper. This is the playmat that I chose. And yes, it's got a cute anime girl, because of course it does. That was genuinely the best of my options. I didn't want one that had a girl in a bikini. But I don't even know what character she is. I can't remember what her card does, but okay, fine. Playmat, maybe I'll force myself to use it and put the house cards on it. Here is the set itself. Never change those boxes. They always use the same boxes that ArcLight uses for the original release. Like every card game, deck building game, whatever from ArcLight comes in the same box. See, look, on a live Q&A, you get to see me spit crap out of my mouth. It's just usually off camera on the normal unboxing. Special. Rulebook, same crappy paper rulebook. And a giant block of cards I'm probably going to knock over. Alright, well. Let me find the first really ridiculous looking one, and I'll show you guys. That's pretty ridiculous. I like to reinforce people's preconceived notions of this game. Oh boy. This is like their, by the way, the person depicted on this card, Tony Darling, she's like the head of their promotions department. She's actually the one that contacted me about the playmat thing, I think. I'm pretty sure. There we go. There's the one to feed everyone's fodder for hating this game. Some douchebag on Board Game Geek named Clyde I got into it with, and finally I had to detach myself from the conversation because that's when I start getting bans thrown at me. I hate that guy. Oh, he's also been raising a big stink about Pandemic Legacy, so now a lot of people hate him, which is great. Like, he considers any cooperative game to not be a game. Okay, so right then and there, you're off on really ridiculous footing. But let's continue. All right, so I hope I'm not wasting everyone's time with this. Oh, okay, that's nice. They put my promo cards into a UPS packing slip sleeve. That's fine. I don't really care. Don't worry, guys. We're going to get to the questions very soon. I just wanted to do this real quick. Appease me. Since I had to do it anyways, I figured I'd do it on camera. You guys could watch me struggle in vain against plastic, which is always exciting. While Bugbear watches me and wonders what the hell I'm doing and who I'm talking to. She's right underneath me. They're just like alt art cards and things like that, so whatever. Some of these I already had. These are from like the base game. Well, whatever. And then finally, the big box, which is honestly exactly what I expected. Doesn't look bad to me. Foil stamping on the side. That's what the picture looked like on the Kickstarter. And, oh, more promos that fell out. Oh, the stupid live action ones. I can't tell you how disinterested I am in those. I don't use them, and I won't use them. Alright, so let's bust this open and see what's inside real quick. And I'll put you all out of your misery. As you can tell, if you haven't known it before, I'm not gentle with my stuff. Alright, so it looks alright. I mean, it's just a box. It's not like... I mean, I do feel stupid spending $50 for a box, but it's nice. It is like an obnoxious size. It's like the... It's kind of reminiscent of the Level 7 Omega Protocol box. Or no, it's more reminiscent of Euphoria, that type of box. Alright, that's all. It's just a plastic tray. And dividers for everything. A randomizer deck, which is cool. The game already had dividers. Is there a do not open card? No. Slightly disappointed. But anyways, in the box overall, I'm not disappointed because it's exactly what I expected, and I got a free playmat out of it. Woohoo. Alright. So that's that. I'm actually in the middle of... I just started watching Fargo Season 2. It's already good. So after this Q&A, I'll probably put all my new Tono-Quore stuff together. Alright, so let's finally get to the questions. That is why you are all here. Most of you maybe have fled since I started opening Tono-Quore. But here we go. Back to the beginning. I actually did not lose any questions this time. Thank you, YouTube. What issue do you actually side with the Republicans and not the Democrats? Well, let's see. I think I'm a little more fiscally conservative. I know that's like a hot thing for some Democrats to say to prove that they are on both sides of the aisle. But yeah, I think that Democrats could just spend us out of house and home if all things considered. And I understand that I'm not like against social benefits and things like that, or welfare benefits, but how are we going to pay for things again? But I am willing to listen to Bernie Sanders' plan. He says he has a plan, and I haven't gone through every intricate detail of it, but we'll see. Is there anything else I'm really in their corner on? Not really. Only budgetary things, and even that, I don't necessarily think Democrats are always in the wrong. But the problem is, anything I would necessarily be willing to work with, I mean, not that I'm a politician, but anything I would be willing to work with Republicans on or agree with them with, they are completely overshadowing by these social issues that are just losers for them. No one is... They have lost the war on homosexuality and, gay marriage equality and abortion and all of these different things. It's over, okay? But they still keep bringing it up and making it an issue to incite the radical part of their base. And it's a loser topic for them. They are not going to come out on top of that one. But that is overshadowing any beneficial issues that they may want to talk about. So how can I be, nonpartisan on that? I can't. Do you think you'll ever be friends again with the Sensitive Squad? No. Have you been able to gauge the opinions of the people at CSI Cool Stuff Inc. as to the effects of Asmodee North America's upcoming pricing policies? No, I was never on. I never had a lot of contact with the higher ups at Cool Stuff. I've met one of the co-owners. He gave me a tour of their main branch in Maitland, Florida, which is a few hours north of here at New Orlando. I think I talked about that on social media and on my live Q&As before. I went through their warehouse and all that. So at that time, this wasn't even a blip on the radar. This was over a year ago, I think. No, it was about a year ago. I don't know. I just don't talk to them enough to know how it's going to affect them. They may not even know. I assume... You always assume in these cases in business negotiations that the people directly involved in the business negotiation would have some foreknotice before the public does. But I don't know. Isn't it weird that Asmodee North America hasn't released their list of approved online vendors yet? Are you kidding me? I wouldn't have even gone to press to put out that press release, the first press release, without having that ready, because that is the first most obvious question. What are they waiting for? Are they waiting for other online retailers to spring up? I don't know. Something really fishy is going on with that whole thing. I love Asmodee as a publisher and every constituent company involved in it. Fantasy Flight and Christian Peterson has seemed like a wise businessman, so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but what? I don't know. It's so weird. Have you started any painting projects? I wish that I had. I really want to. I see other people. I saw Joel posting pictures of him starting off painting, like a learn how to paint thing, and it looks good. And I was like, oh, I'm so jealous because I want the time to do that, but I don't have the time. If he made the time, I should be able to make the time, right? But my job, I don't know. I don't know what he does for a living. My job, I've got crazy hours, so that's part of my problem. But I'm very jealous of him. What's the longest... By the way, if I skip questions, it's not because I'm trying to be mean. It's something I'm not comfortable answering, so I won't make an issue of it. What's the longest period of time that you have gone without playing a board game? Could you go a whole year without playing a board game? Well, I've only been into modern board gaming for, in a heavy way, for a few years, so I haven't really had any cause to go an extended period of time. The longest period of time, since then, probably a week and a half or so. I think there was one time I was really sick and I had to cancel all my meetups, and my meetups happened between Wednesday and Sunday. So that I was sick between that period of time, and then I had to wait till the next Saturday or Sunday, and so it was rough. But that's about it. Do you think there are too many people in board game media and not enough audience? That's a good question. I've thought about that. It definitely seems like anyone who's got a webcam or a microphone has decided to be a podcaster or webcaster or video vlogger. And I can't fault them because I'm not that special. I just decided to do that one day too with my friends. We had a plan, but eventually I just usurped that plan and just started doing it on my own. And I don't think that I'm that special, but obviously people do and have given me an audience, and I'm very thankful for them. But I try not to be too critical of people who just decide to do it. But there's definitely seems to be an oversaturation. I don't listen to any of these podcasts at all, and if I did, there's only like a few that seem to rise to the top. There's so many where it's just two dudes talking to each other about games. That's exactly why I didn't do a podcast, because I didn't want it to revert to that. No one seems to be saying anything new. There is definitely a point of oversaturation. As fast and as much as our hobby is growing, how many reviewers do you need? How many people do you need talking about Kickstarter games? And they're all just advertising arms of the Kickstarter. I've thought about my place in that, and you haven't seen very many previews on my channel lately, and that's only because they've all been clustering up into the same week, which is really annoying. But I'm like, yeah, one day I'm probably not going to do Kickstarter previews anymore if my channel grows enough, because I hate it. I don't like being a shill for Kickstarter projects. I don't think I'm a shill. I mean, I get paid for it. They're customers, and I do advertising, but I don't want to be a part of that world. And I think so many podcasts and video, especially even in video, they are that. So I think there's too much of that for sure. But I mean, people who are genuinely have something to say and are offering new to the table, there's always room for that. But that's a totally subjective thing. Hi Nick, did you try or heard of code names with Dixit cards instead of words? I never considered that. Is that like a thing on the Board Game Geek forums? That sounds interesting, actually. So you put out the Dixit cards and say a word and try to connect the cards? That seems pretty neat, actually. I'm going to have to take a look and see what other people are saying about that, but thanks for bringing that to my attention. I never would have thought of that. My brain doesn't work that way, weirdly enough. Hi, I saw your preview before on the first edition Albion's Legacy, a little before the second edition Kickstarter. I was thinking about late backing and was wondering if you have played it anymore after your preview. No, they never sent me a review copy. My friend Evan, who is in my gaming group, has backed a scant few Kickstarters, and that's one of them. And he's been eagerly awaiting it, and I think he finally got it, and wasn't there some sort of mistake with it, and they had to fix some things? I don't know. He was telling me something about that. So he keeps threatening to bring it one day, and I'll probably play it with him. I don't know if I'll review it, because I don't know that I want to borrow his copy to do that. But I don't. See, that's the thing. A lot of the preview companies, I always want to review a game I did a preview for, so that people can get my advertisement section part of it, and then my genuine thoughts about the game. But I believe that a lot of companies don't want to do that because they know that I'm not going to like it or something. I'm not saying that's the case with Albion's Legacy, but I fear that that's the case. Maybe it's because I've given some really brutal reviews to some games. Maybe. I can only be honest, folks. As if anyone doesn't know, Peter is thanking me for a game that I sold to him. If you back me on Patreon, you have access to what I call my sell sheet, which is probably a poor way to word it. I should word it something else. But that's like my overwhelming stock of games that I have to get rid of. I sell them at a pretty good discount to my Patreon backers. If you back it like the $5 level, you have access to that. I email it to you. I try to do it every month. In fact, I think I'm going to do it tomorrow, updated. So you'll have access to that. First come, first serve. I try to give you a good deal. So go and check out Patreon if you want to know more information about that. Your thoughts on the White Wolf Publishing takeover and their new strategy? I only heard a little bit about this. Was there more details released? White Wolf is a company I like. I love them. I used to play their games, World of Darkness, the new World of Darkness, and Exalted. I really love their stuff. I even briefly tried Scion, which no one even has heard of anymore. But I never understood how they made money. And apparently they weren't. So, let's see. They have been acquired by Paradox Interactive. That's a video game company, right? They had been working on a World of Darkness video game for a long time, I feel like. Something like that. So, merger and MMO. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page, although it's not really going to tell me much, I'm sure. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that they need to do something. I think their IPs are great. They just need to figure out a better way to market them. By the way, it's tough for all role-playing game publishers now. they do these Kickstarters for their fancy editions of their older World of Darkness books, which I don't know why anyone would bother with the old World of Darkness anymore, but okay. And they make a ton of money. I mean, some of those made hundreds of thousands of dollars for these reprintings of these books. So they have a product that people want. There's no doubt about it. But it is tough for people to just sell normal versions of books nowadays, physical books. That's everybody, not just White Wolf. So whatever they can do, I support them. What's Twitter? It's this place where it used to be notable because you would have to write a message that was only like 100 and some characters, but they're thinking of getting rid of that, so I don't think there's anything special about it anymore. And now you heart things instead of star things. How about just use Facebook? What? On one of your earlier Q&A, you mentioned you have some reservations about the Jedi. Would you mind elaborating about what you do not like about Jedi philosophy? I don't recall the context that I said that in originally, so that's taking me a bit by surprise. I like the idea of the Jedi. I think it's cool to think of space knights, They are knights. They call themselves knights. It goes hand in hand with how Star Wars is essentially just sci fantasy, They coined that term. A lot of people, Red Letter Media has pointed this out, and Cracks.com has pointed this out in some of their articles, that we immediately assume the Jedi are these noble people, which they are to a degree, but they also force themselves to be emotionless, and if you really want to break it down past what they actually cover in the movies, like they're not allowed to take wives or husbands, they're not allowed to, they're forced to not show extreme emotion, which can be a bad thing. I mean, sometimes extreme emotion is called for, and they are essentially a religious order, one that takes small children and indoctrinates them, with their parents' permission, I guess. But I don't know. You got to think that's weird at some level, right? When you really break it down, and that's why I think I like the way they're depicted now. I mean, well, that was part of the problem too. When they did the prequels, they were like, oh, now there's just Jedi all over the place, man. You're always in danger of running into a lightsaber because there's so many freaking Jedi around, right? But everyone thought that they wanted that. I don't think that that's a good thing. I liked it when the Jedi were just mysterious and there was just a few of them scattered around the universe, right? And I think that that's what we're getting back to with the new movies, because now Luke Skywalker is in spoilers for them. Well, not really spoilers for the movie, but Luke Skywalker is in hiding, and okay, I'm going to assume everyone has seen the movie. All right, if you haven't, then go away for a minute. But yeah, Luke Skywalker's in hiding, and Rey just awakens to her powers, and it's Jedi are extremely rare, and it's got more thoughtfulness and purpose to it. So yeah, maybe just as I've gotten older, I've looked at the Jedi with a more critical eye. Is, I guess, the best way to put that. I'm sleeving Tentacle Bento. It's not a euphemism, folks. Did you ever try Gloom of Killforth? I have not. I doubt I'll be getting a review copy anytime soon. What? Oh, you're asking me that. You phrased that wordly. You said it with authority at first, like there will be. But really what you meant to say is, will there be a Kingdom Death Monster starter set for people that would like to taste but not have any friend with the courage to spend $400? Doubtful. That's an amazing idea. So I love Kingdom Death Monsters, my number one game right now, and I just started a new solo campaign for myself. I'm as much in love with it as I was when I did my top 100 list, I assure you. However, it would be foolish of me not to be critical of the way that it was marketed, and I understand that it's a boutique game. This is the crap that people were giving me about Cthulhu Wars, and when I was talking about the price on that. And yeah, you can call me somewhat hypocritical. If Cthulhu Wars was Kingdom Death Monster, I mean, it has to be a game that I love, and then I'd be willing to spend that amount of money. But then again, the Kickstarter backers for Kingdom Death got it at a much reduced rate, but I digress. I do wish that there was a more accessible version. I don't like being like one of the chosen few that got the game cheaply and that is able to play it. I wish everyone could, because it's an amazing game. part of me hopes that there have been rumors. He has bandied about the idea of doing another Kingdom Death game called Kingdom Death Heroes that is a dungeon crawling game where you take control of there's like uber powerful people in the Kingdom Death universe or dark dimension of hell, wherever it is. Because like in Kingdom Death Monster, you are survivors. You are nothing. You start off with a loincloth and a piece of rock, and you get more powerful, but it's so incrementally, and everything is a danger to you of total party killing you. But if they was to do Kingdom Death Heroes, you would be people who have already gained like incredible supernatural powers in the world. They call them saviors, and there's white speakers and Twilight Knights. You'd be people like that who already have gained extreme power and weaponry, and then you go and fight some of the really bad threats of the Kingdom Death world. And with that game, I would hope that he would make it a more accessible version. Something like Descent that has really nice bits, but is not over $100. So I hope, my friends, because everyone deserves to have a shot at trying this world. People were looking for you in the comments of the Dice Tower Marathon. Well, that's because I have the best fans in the world, and you guys are very sweet. I love you all. Yeah, it was an insanely large box for the content that was in it for Tono-Quore. What's the argument for a co-op not being a game? What's the logic? That if you're not playing against a person, that it can't possibly be a game. I don't understand that at all. Does that mean that all the video games I've been playing for years before the advent of online multiplayer are not games? I mean, there is no logic. People are upset that Pandemic Legacy is #1 on Board Game Geek. Period. And they will do whatever it takes to knock it down a peg, to attack it. Nick, have you seen the Nova Atos project on Kickstarter? I think it's something you'll be interested in. I believe I'm doing a preview for that. I didn't know it launched already, though, because they haven't actually sent it to me yet, I think. Maybe they just launched. Let me take a look here. Yeah, that's the one. They were. I was in negotiations to do a preview for it. I'm not sure where that is right now. I gotta catch up on my email. X-Wing or Armada? Neither. I haven't played either of them. I'm not really interested in them. If I had to choose, though, Armada seems more interesting to me. Joel has the best intro with drive-thru. Do you think you could get the same person to do an intro for Board Game Brawl? Is that the one with the car? I don't know. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. I haven't watched any of his videos in a little while. Let's take a look, shall we? Yeah. It's just a cityscape with a car, like the Monopoly car. Yeah, I'm watching it now. Yeah, it's neat. I guess at some point I'll get something like that, but I don't know. Yeah, that's one of the things on my list of things to do this year is to actually update some. I mean, I want to have new artwork for the channel. I don't necessarily care about animation. I just want some new artwork at least. So we'll see. But it looks good. I'll give him that. Have you played Raiders of the North Sea yet? Your thoughts? No, I think I'm kind of on a Viking game. I'm kind of burned out on that. I even have one more Villainous Vikings I need to play. Are you planning on getting Nemo's War? What other solo games do you play or recommend? Multiplayer games that you enjoy or prefer solo are also good. Well, I will hopefully be doing a top 10 solo games list within the next few months. I'm just waiting on a couple of games I want to try out first. Maybe I won't even wait for them. Who knows? But yeah, I'm very interested in Nemo's War with this new edition that actually looks nice. I hope that the games at Victory Point Games Kickstart actually look better than their normal games, because I just gave a bad review to Hunt the Unknown Quarry last week because it's bad, but it also looked like crap too. Nick, why not start a proper weekly Kickstarter program? There's nothing good except yours, 3 minutes every week. Because I'll be very honest, I've lost my passion for it. I've become incredibly cynical about Kickstarter, and I still do my segment. I'll be doing it for the foreseeable future, but one day, who knows? I just don't have the passion for it that I used to. That's all. So, blowing that up into like a 10 to 15 minute segment, it's not going to happen. But I sincerely appreciate that you like it, though. Thank you very much. Have you played the StarCraft board game? Is it any good? Has that recent Warhammer 40k game replaced it? Well, I've had StarCraft on my shelf forever, and I probably will never play it, but it looks good on my shelf. The shelves that you guys can't see, that, as Joe Wiggins says, is board game purgatory, which is the greatest thing ever. You want to see board game purgatory? This is board game purgatory. Everything from that pile of games on that little side table from IKEA to that shelf there. There's my TV, and there's another shelf over there around my camera. So this is a game I'm doing a preview of, by the way, at some point. So yeah, it's in my board game purgatory, which is just funny to me. And one day maybe I'll play it, who knows. But I don't know that it's going to replace Forbidden Stars, I think is what you mean. Forbidden Stars is great, and I think that the people who are saying it's StarCraft 2.0 are a bit wrong on that. I have looked at the two games and their rule sets. The only major thing that's the same is the order tokens, which is a very good element of it, and I don't blame them for borrowing that. But other than that, it looks and feels different. Hello from France. Hello. Whatever the French hello is, I should know that, I suppose. Do you ever play WoW, Warcraft 2, 3, or the StarCraft franchise, the actual PC games? My friends and I, when I was in high school, I'm talking about my freshman year of high school, loved Warcraft and Warcraft 2. And then I eventually bought Warcraft 3 for myself when I got my own computer, and I never played it. I never bothered with it. But yeah, Warcraft 1 and 2 were the jam. We loved that. We used to do over dial-up modem using BattleNet. We would play matches against each other in Warcraft 2. It was great. I always got my ass whooped, but I had fun. Have you or would you ever try out war games? I'm thinking games along the lines of Twilight Struggle and other GMT games. Well, I have played Twilight Struggle. I played it with my friend Wes, who loved it way more than I did. I just thought it was okay. It's just not my style of game. But it was very well designed. I can't take anything away from it. I'm not bashing it by any means. It's just not my style. So anything even heavier than that, I probably will never bother with. Like the bucket of dice hex encounter games, not going to happen. It's just not me. I try to be an omni gamer. I don't think that that's ever going to happen because I need to also play games that I like. And I don't know that I'm going to like that necessarily. Trying to get my shirt on camera. Why not? Where are we at? I'm almost caught up on questions. Oh, no. Okay. Why do you not game... no. Alright. I'm parsing out this person's question. Okay, I think I know what he's saying. Why is one IP often handled better than others? For instance, Star Wars versus Star Trek, Marvel versus DC, Game of Thrones versus The Walking Dead, things that are comparable in popularity. That is an amazing question, Eric. I love that question because I've thought about that myself. It definitely seems that way, right? It doesn't seem like there's a good enough, a big enough piece of... I'm thinking of a metaphor here. It's not working. A big enough piece of pie, quality pie, for everybody. Okay, let's start over. It doesn't seem like there's enough quality to go around, right? Okay, Star Wars has been done really well. But it's done really well because Fantasy Flight Games has gotten a hold of it and they have dedicated themselves to making it amazing, right? But then you look at Star Trek, and it all comes down to what publisher they unfortunately end up with. And I do think that some companies have the best of intentions of getting a game made, and then they end up with a publisher who just craps all over it. So Star Trek ended up with WizKids and Anne's Mayfair, right? And Star Trek Fleet Captains, I've heard, is a good game. I actually played half of a game, so I don't want to judge it from gameplay because I didn't play enough of it. But the components were garbage. Utter garbage, like most WizKids games, right? And Star Trek 5-Year Mission is a complete and total garbage game altogether, not just the components, but definitely the components from Mayfair. Which is, oh, by the way, the major news in board gaming this week is that Mayfair lost the license to Catan. I can't imagine that company lasting. Every game I played from Mayfair has been mediocre at best and have all had junk components. They are, who supports them heavily? I don't know. But then other things, like you said, Marvel versus DC. Yeah, you have the DC Comics deck building game. Now, I will make the argument there that while it is definitely not as good a game as Marvel Legendary by far, it's still a decent game, and it's not handled improperly. I think they're doing their best with what they decided to go for there. And the monkey wrench thrown into the comic book license thing is that WizKids, crappy though they are, have had found good success with Dice Masters, which does both DC and Marvel. But I wonder about the future of Dice Masters. I think that game is going to peter out because they've bizarrely stopped selling online. They've also, every set just seems kind of the same. It's not exciting. I really think they did themselves a disservice by making it collectible. And I'm not one of those people that hates everything collectible immediately. But I do think in this particular case, no one wants... everyone's like, oh, well, booster packs only cost 79 cents or $1. Yeah, but you get 2 cards and 2 dice. The part of the great thing about buying Magic packs was that there's always going to be a rare. And you're going to get like 10 to 12 cards or something. And you'll get some foils. They make it very exciting. It's very cool to open up a pack of booster cards. That's why it's so addictive. That's why it's a problem. But I don't get any of that from the WizKids games. They really needed to sell them in sets. Like Warriors. They screwed up there, I think. Long term, that would have been way more viable. So, I don't know. I have to plug my computer in real quick. Sorry. My battery was about to die. And then Game of Thrones versus Walking Dead. Yeah, that's another one too. But again, that's a Fantasy Flight conundrum. Fantasy Flight puts quality into their products, like Battlestar Galactica. Any IP they get, they're going to treat it right. And unfortunately, Walking Dead ended up in the hands of, I think Cryptozoic did a board game that was and then Z-Man did a game that was and that was that. If you could change something about the reviewing aspect of the gaming industry, what would it be? I would like to get out of the business of doing overviews, like incredibly intricate overviews, but it feels like people expect that now. I don't know. I've never really tried to not do an incredibly thorough one, but ironically, to do a really quick one would seem like more work because I'd have to do like shots and a lot more editing. But that's something I'd like to change that I think people, like the customer base or the viewing base, has come to expect. I would like to change, in general, the buddy-buddy nature most reviewers, including major reviewers, have with publishers. Any publisher. Major publishers, Kickstarter publishers. People are trying their absolute best, especially new reviewers, to get on the good side of these publishers, to become friends with them. Friends on Facebook and friends on Twitter and talk to them all the time and give them nothing but support and love and free advertising. And I cannot tell you how wrong-headed that is. We need to be very impartial. We need to be willing to give very bad reviews to games, or quality is never going to increase. And these people who become good friends with these publishers based on nothing else other than they're sending me free games, and don't tell me it doesn't happen, that is something I want to change desperately. Have you gotten a chance to try Xia Legends of the Drift System yet? If so, what do you think? I'm sure you've seen it. Maybe you didn't see it. It's behind my head on camera. Yeah, it's in my permanent collection. I love it. It's amazing. You can watch my review of it from last year. Or maybe it's a year and a half ago at this point. But it's a wonderful, wonderful game. Do you think there will be expansions for Zombicide Black Plague? Does a bear shit in the woods? Yes. Besides Exploding Kittens, that is still the most, I think, unless I missed something, it's the most profitable board game in Kickstarter, the end. It made over $4 million. And it wasn't just because it was Zombicide, it was because it came at it from a new angle. So, oh yes, they are going to do at least 1 or 2 more Kickstarters on that thing before they go to sci-fi zombies. How do you handle rude and obnoxious players in your group, trying not to leave just because of one bad apple? Well, okay, if it's not your group, that's a problem. You may want to talk to whoever is the head of the group, and hopefully this person is not the head of the group, then you might have to leave. I would definitely talk to it. I always say that it's best to be direct, but if you're going to someone else's group, you should talk to the group leader first and see if they can maybe talk to that person or bring you both together as like an arbiter. But if it's still an issue, if you don't think that's a viable method, I think you have to leave. But again, that's a last resort. I don't think that people should be forced to leave just because one other person is being a dick, but if everyone else is very accepting of that person, it can be very difficult to like come in and upset the apple cart. But you don't know, because sometimes do other people in the group have a problem with them? If other people in the group have a problem with them, you can get some solidarity going and really make an issue out of it. Hey Nick, do you ever just want to lay on the sofa and chill out? Yes. I would love to just binge watch Fargo all day today and tomorrow, but I can't. I just watch it while I'm taking apart games or eating. Yeah. I'm agreeing with a random comment someone made. That's a good point. George R.R. Martin actually started working with Fantasy Flight before there was an HBO show because they just love the book so much. Like, I think Game of Thrones First Edition, the board game, and the CCG, or LCG, were way before that. It doesn't bother me, Nikolai. You can scroll back up if you want to read his question. I'm not going to talk about it, so I don't want people to get upset that I'm not, but I'm just not. You should shake it up and not do overviews. I've thought about it. Would people really watch it then? It's like that people have no idea what I'm talking about. That's the problem. I don't know. My problem is if I want to give extremely thorough final thoughts, which I think is my calling card, don't I need to show my work? It's like a math problem, right? Yeah, okay. So D-Tramer1 makes a good point that Republicans are possibly less responsible with budget. True. Maybe I'm buying into their line of dialogue about that a little bit too much. Hey Nick, question for you. What game do you own that you think does expansions the best? I adore Eldritch Horror and Marvel Legendary, but think Legendary does a much, much better job with theirs. Oh, I don't know about that. I think Eldritch Horror does a pretty good job. You have to take into account that Legendary can go on autopilot for the most part. Just like, oh, what heroes haven't we done yet? Oh, here's some heroes. Just make stuff for them. And I know they introduced new mechanics and stuff, but Eldritch Horror... Well, I guess Eldritch Horror is like that to a degree, too. Like, they're just using all the stuff from Arkham Horror. I will cede that point. Maybe Legendary does it better, but I think they both do a very good job. The thing about Eldritch Horror is that it does take a lot more work. That's why in the expansions usually add more stuff. I mean, the big ones add boards and tons of new cards and whole ways to change the game. I don't know. They're all good to me, but the thing about it is that all the expansions for those games in particular are like more of the same type of expansions, which aren't bad, but they're not changing anyone's mind about the game. I think there are expansions that really make a game better. My opinion is that Shadows over Camelot is much better with the expansion. Others disagree with me. I think Seasons got a lot better with the expansions because it needed more variety. Like, I don't think I need the expansions for Legendary that much, but it really helps. Well, not all of them. Anyways. You could do a few games with the overview separate and then see how the view counts are on them. True. What would I do, though? I don't want to do it for a really hot game. That's the thing, is that I'd have to make that sacrifice at some point in order to get a good sampling of how that works. My thought is that if I didn't do a traditional overview, I would just do like some brief photos of the game with a very brief explanation of how the game works and only the major elements, not longer than like 5 minutes, if that, and just with some music as a bed underneath it. Right? I think that would probably be enough. Yeah, Tentacle Benno's main problem was my main problem with Tentacle Benno is that I felt like I was playing a longer, more drawn-out version of Uno. Yeah, I like the artwork, though. Any new news about the Asmodee announcement? No. So Christian Peterson was interviewed by ICV2, a very weird, geeky website, and went into more detail about the plans, and when that started off a whole other firestorm of controversy. You can go find that thread somewhere on Board Game Geek, where they're talking about that. That's already gone on for like 10 pages, and that was last week. And I know I read those comments before going mad temporarily, because there was one guy, the guy who posted it, I believe, who posted that on Board Game Geek. Is it Isaac Shalev? He's a publisher, of course. And he was like, well, I think this makes perfect business sense. I think that they're doing the right thing, what they need to do. I mentioned this last week, and it's like, yes, but is it the good thing for customers? It usually is not. Just because something is good for your business does not mean it's good for your customers. What? Did you know that Jim Kenobi is Obi-Wan's long-forgotten brother who went to Moon of Endor to become a successful farmer? I did not know that. I do think, I don't know if you're referencing this indirectly, but I do love over on Red Letter Media right now, one of the video they did last week was, they did a video that purposefully looked like clickbait, like a parody of clickbait, and it was actually clickbait, called Top 10 Things You Didn't Know About Darth Vader's Suit. And what the video actually is Mike and Rich sitting there as Mike has a printout of a Wikipedia page on Darth Vader's suit, and he's just reading it word for word. It is a startling indictment of the expanded universe fiction of Star Wars, and a very, very good indicator of why Disney decided to abandon it. Because it is absurd. Go to like, I don't know, it's like the 10-minute mark or something, where they talk about the... They talk about the Emperor Palpatine's Surgical Reconstruction Center. And there's various parts where they talk about Darth Vader's suit could have been better, except for budgetary constraints. Okay? The Galactic Empire, who rules the galaxy, who built 2 giant planet Death Stars, has budgetary constraints. It's true. I often skip over your gameplay overviews, even though they're just fine. That is the thing. I feel that most people do that. I do that. Like, I will sometimes like glance at someone else's overview, but just to see what the game is about. But I'm there for the person's opinion. That's my point. So I don't know. Is politics a common discussion point here? I wouldn't say it's common, but I don't shy away from it. It's never gotten to the point where people are just asking me politics questions. If it did, I'd put the kibosh on it. But if people want to ask me about it, I'm going to be honest about it because I don't care. Oh, boy. More people asking my number one question. It's great. The obligatory Boo Booty Box question. All the time. Hey, if I wanted to take that box down, I could. I obviously enjoy it on some level. Have you ever tried the Kane Lynch video game? It was designed by the same person who designed Champions of Midgard. I had no idea that guy was a video game designer. No, I've heard of it. It didn't interest me at all, but it's interesting that is that connection. Star Trek Fleet Captains has cheap components, but there's so much there. It's so flavorful. If they went FFG quality, it would be the cost of Kingdom Death Monster. I heartily disagree with that. They could have done miniatures the same quality as Star Trek Attack Wing or Star Wars X-Wing miniatures, and done tiles. There wasn't that many tiles in the game. There's games I have that have a bajillion tiles, and you can buy the game for $50. I'm only talking about that. I'm talking like the character sheets and the cards. Everything just seems very inferior. I don't know why they couldn't have done cardboard tiles. I'm not asking for a Kingdom Death quality, but Descent quality, maybe? Because bear in mind, Star Trek Fleet Captains is still very expensive. It's like it's cheap now probably, but when it first came out, I thought it was like $100 game, right? That's why I never bought my own copy of it. So we're not talking about it may have cheap quality components, but they're not charging a cheap rate for it. So why not sell it at the same price and actually have some good components? I don't think WizKids is capable of that. Have you seen the new War of the Ring Collector's Edition coming out this year? I have seen it. I never had an interest in that game. I mean, I have an interest in War of the Ring, and I would play it for sure. I've never gone out of my way to purchase it. Part of the problem is it's primarily a two-player game. It's so difficult for me to play any two-player game, but especially a very long and involved one. I like Lord of the Rings fiction. I don't love it the way that other people do. So I've never been sad that I missed out on the War of the Ring Collector's Edition. And the new one looks interesting, but it seems to be a pale shadow of the first Collector's Edition. Could you just explain the type of game in the talking head? Give a little explanation? By talking head, you mean when I'm talking? I don't know if I understand your question thoroughly. But yeah, I could do that. Like, okay, think about what I did for Time Stories or Pandemic Legacy, or I did a couple of previews where the people involved weren't able to send me a prototype. The best example of that is, I forget the name of it. There's a preview I did for a zombie game that had a bunch of cubes. If I Survive, or If I Walk In, or something like that. And the guy couldn't send me a prototype, and I just used like animated GIFs and pictures that he sent me. And it worked pretty well. I just went over the rule book and just explained it. The point is, I want my videos to be like 15 minutes long, and obviously it's double that for most of my videos, so it's kind of wrong. I need to work something out with that. Okay, I think I lost my place because YouTube sucks. Have you covered the Xenoshift expansions yet? Any pre-thoughts? I have them all just because I love Xenoshift, so I just picked them up and they're really cheap. I don't have thoughts on them. I haven't really played with them yet, and I don't know that I'm going to do. I might do a review, but if I did a review, I'd do them all at once. So maybe I'll try and do that. Hi Nick, what are your thoughts on the Sons of Anarchy card game? Is that separate from the worker placement game, or is that what you're referring to? In any case, I haven't played either of them, so I've heard they're good. The one from Gale Force 9, if that's what you're talking about, I've heard that that's good. Oh, wow. Autocorrect just totally messed with your question, but I understand it. Some Kickstarter games are coming soon. Which one are you most excited about, Conan or Besieged? Of those two, wow. I really am excited for Conan, but I'm probably more excited for Besieged, even though it definitely does not have the notoriety of any other of these really high quality or high profile games, because Besieged is from Cool Mini or Not, quality right there. I haven't played a game from Cool Mini or Not I've hated. I've played a couple of games I haven't been as keen on. Dogs of War. One of the first Kickstarters I ever backed was City of Guilds of Cadwallon. So okay. But other than those, I mean, every game I've played from them has been great. And so I'm looking forward to Besiege. It's also tower defense. People have told me it's kind of reminiscent of Ghost Story to a degree, which is amazing. So that I think I'm more excited about. But Conan seems cool. I missed your Ticket to Ride question. Could you just re-ask it, it's harder for me to... It's harder for me to find your question, so just re-ask it. Sorry. Can you believe the wait time for the Mysterium reprint? I had no idea they were having issues with that. So they sold out and they haven't gotten to the reprint yet. So Mysterium I can kind of understand. I don't know what the reason was for the long... I think Spyfall is finally back in stock, and I have no idea why it took Cryptozoic so long to reprint that. That is literally a small box with some cards. And they make cards all the time. Mysterium's a bit more complicated, especially because in the new version they added all this extra crap they don't need. But so I can understand that, but I don't know. Sometimes I don't understand companies that don't understand how hyped a game is. And I understand that they don't want to overprint a game and have warehouses full of crap sitting around that they can't get rid of. But for Mysterium, that game has been getting buzz for 2 years. I would think they would have been prepared for that, but who knows. Code names I can understand not being in print, but because they are trying their absolute best to meet the demand on that one. That one was overwhelmingly popular. Still the #1 selling game on Cool Stuff for like a few weeks now since it came back in stock. Try publishing 2 videos, one with the overview and one without. Oh, I don't know about that. Then I'm getting into Rado territory. It seems to work for him, sure, but I don't want to be putting out multiple videos for one game. I like having it all in one place. I think you should wear cute... Oh, say, this is a 2-part question. I know how to freshen up the videos. I think you should wear cute anime costumes while doing your reviews. A maid costume would pull in the punters. That's... Alright, that's fine. I'll do it. No, but I imagined that one day. I daydream a lot at work, and I thought about, what if I did every one of my videos in a costume relating to the game? So when I did Xenoshift, I was dressed in like a Colonial Marine costume, a Star Trek Troopers type military outfit. Or when I did, Tono-Quore, I was in a maid outfit. If I had an unlimited costume budget, I'd just do it and get it over with. I also like playing around with the fact that people invariably, because I'm single and I guess enunciate and have a high-pitched voice, sort of, people immediately think that I'm gay or something that I'm not. I'm not, but I don't get offended when people think that. And I love to toy with people's expectations of that. So being in elaborate costumes and putting on, I wouldn't even do a fake voice. I would just be in the costume and talk normally as if I wasn't in a costume. I would not draw attention to it at all. That would be kind of funny. Yes, I think I like that idea, but I'm not ever going to do it because I don't have a costume budget. Maybe I should back me on Patreon, and if I get enough money, you can put me in elaborate costumes. What else would I do? Let's see. I'd get like I would always go for the more uncomfortable costume, right? The one that people would not want to see me in. So, for instance, if I did Yido, I'm just looking at my shelf. If I did Yido, I'd be in a geisha costume. Yep, for sure. Kingdom Death Monster, just a loincloth. Can you review a copy of Raiders of the North Sea? If they sent me a copy, I'd review it. I am not particularly interested in purchasing my own copy of it, but I would certainly review it if they did. It's funny because you're asking me, I believe you're asking me about I think it's Making a Murderer, which is Steve Avery is the guy's name. I think this is what you're talking about, the thing on Netflix. Guilty or innocent? I think he's shady, but simply can't tell of his guilt because the documentary is so biased. The authorities absolutely railroaded that poor kid, though. But it's funny because there is a designer that I'm friends with named Steve Avery who has a faux bad reputation. People like to chide him about his wild partying habits. And so when I first read that, I'm like, is there a documentary about Steve Avery from the board gaming community? That's funny. I haven't watched Making a Murderer, though, so I can't honestly answer that question. But Steve The board gaming Steve Avery is a cool dude. Oh, that's right. There was that Star Wars RPG Kickstarter, which is very funny. It's canceled now, but you should look it up because I believe the guy did it on purpose just to make a joke. But if he didn't, it's even more funny. He didn't have a license from Disney. He had no pictures or screenshots or plan or idea. Just a bunch of mad, poorly worded and with poor grammar, as I do. Paragraphs about the project, and yes, I hadn't noticed that he called him Obi Jim Kenobi. Do you watch Extra Credits? It's about game design. Mostly video games are pretty good. I have watched a few of those because they actually were pretty interesting. I don't like video games enough at this point to watch it consistently, but I've had links shared with me, and I found it very interesting. I can see that you need some overview to get people a feel for the game, but you should do it fast. I agree. I'm working on it. Okay. I don't understand your buddy with publishers comment. I see that most of the big reviewers are not afraid to give negative reviews, so where's the problem? Well, do you think that's the case? Would you know? That's the problem. Yeah, there's some major reviewers who give negative reviews to publishers who they're friends with, and some of them, like Tom, I know are absolutely well. If it's a game is bad, he's going to say it's bad no matter what. Other reviewers, I'm not so sure of, and because how would you know that? How many times do you think they say, well, I'm not even going to review this game at all because I don't want to give this person a bad review? And this is just the perception I see, because I see so many people who are buddy and chatty on Twitter and Facebook and other social media, and who always hang out at conventions, and they go to parties together. I don't know that the board gaming community is so small that we must be friends with designers and publishers, like really close friends with the designers and publishers. I mean, you know that publishers are doing that for a reason. They don't have noble reasons for becoming friends with these people. You know, it's a business decision. It's probably not a business decision on the part of the reviewers or journalists in question, but they just want to be more in tune with the community, and they're like, oh, that's great, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know why people go out of their way to become buddy with people. There has to be a question of ethical concern there. So why make it a question, I guess, is my concern. Nick, I have to leave for a date now. Will I be lucky or not? I think you're going to do just fine. Even if the date goes poorly, what you're going to do afterwards is just go get rip-roaring drunk and have a great time somewhere else. I just ordered Super Dungeon Explorer Legends at the Legendary level, even though I have the first edition. I figure I could get the boss packs after. What level did you go for? I didn't go for anything yet. I just pledged for $1, and I'll make up my mind later. I know the Pledge Manager is open now. Pathfinder with expansions or Warhammer Quest adventure card game? They feel very different. They're surprisingly different. In some ways it's the same, but Pathfinder is much more involved, and there's much more to it. Warhammer Quest, until I start seeing expansions, I can't really qualify it, but they're just different play experiences. I think... am I contradicting myself in my review? I'm pretty sure in my review I pointed this out too. But Warhammer Quest is faster, less setup. That might be something that makes it more user-friendly for new players, for sure. No dice rolling, no like building decks and hiding minions and henchmen and all this stuff. So it's a much more user-friendly, accessible, and shorter game. Pathfinder just is a much more involved experience that you could get really deeply involved with the campaign style. You have to decide what play style suits you best. Cutest adventuring characters in board gaming. I vote Dungeon Guilds. They're pretty cute. You know, I was looking at the Board Game Geek page for Heroes Gold, which is the re-implementation of Dungeon Guilds, where you're just a bunch of monsters going down through a dungeon. I like the twist, and it actually is good artwork, but I do like my chibi characters. So a lot of times I'll get rid of the older version of a game. Like I'm trying to trade away my old version of Old World and Code of Nine for it because I have the new version anyways, but that's because they're mostly the same. Same thing with Tragedy Looper. But for this one here, I'm probably going to keep my old copy of Dungeon Guilds, even if I get the new version. Angry Joe dresses up for his videos? I didn't know that. What's your favorite video game based on an anime or manga? I don't know that I have one. They didn't really make a lot of good games. There's a lot of games done in the anime style, like that type of animation and character design style, but as far as games directly based off of an anime or manga, I don't know that I had one. They were all, the ones that I did play were pretty bad. But see, that's the thing. Danica follows up by saying Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy wasn't based off an anime or manga. Final Fantasy was a game. It's been spun off into anime and manga, but... Okay, someone else is saying experiment with the 2-video thing. I need to think about that more. That's a pretty big decision, I think. Maybe I'll post about it on Facebook. I usually post pretty long and thorough posts asking for people's opinions over on Facebook. I don't know. I just like the idea of having everything in one place. You know, I always said to myself, people may watch or not watch my videos. They may like me or hate me or whatever the case might be. But my number one goal with the channel is to put out a video that I would want to watch. I don't think I'm the most original YouTuber. I think the way I go about doing my final thoughts is pretty original compared to other people. But you know, I'm following templates that other people have done, sure, but I am doing that in everything else I do because I'm like, would I watch this video? If I wouldn't watch this video, I'm not going to do it. And I wouldn't watch someone's just overview video. I'd go straight to their final thoughts, which makes it superfluous. I don't know. But I'm not disregarding your ideas. The fact that I'm even discussing it means I'm conflicted on it, and I thank you for bringing it up. Just use different wigs, same outfit as always. Again, whatever I do, if I did it, I would not bring any attention to it. I'd make people, and I wouldn't even answer questions about it either. We're going to end it soon, folks. We're actually over time as it is. I did start on time this time, so... Nick, I always love the shirts you wear in your vids, trying to be spoiler-free. In Kingdom Death Monster, which Nemesis monster is your favorite to fight against, and which is your least favorite? I'm very aggravated fighting the Butcher. As far as my favorite to fight against, it's really cool to fight the Phoenix because it feels epic when the mini's out there and all that stuff, despite the fact that he's just a quarry. First, have you ever played Star Wars Armada, and what are your thoughts? I have not, but it seems neat. In the age of 63 people watching, that's cool. In this age of crowdsourcing and open betas, how in the world are board game rulebooks still crappy so often? I agree. I'm talking typos, unclear rules, contradictions, and obvious questions unanswered. It's because no matter how much playtesting and thoroughness you do, mistakes are still going to happen, and you are still dealing with people, and people will sometimes be stubborn and stick to their guns. So in the case of something that's not abjectly a mistake, but a rulebook is just laid out in a certain way, you know at some point during the way, the designer, the publisher is just going to say, no, I like it. We're going to leave it how it is. Even if a lot of playtesters are saying, this is not working. I'm a gamer and this is unintelligible to me. It's stuff like that. It's never like a nefarious reason. It's always just people making mistakes or mistakes of judgment. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's great to have a community where people will pick it apart, make corrections, raise a big stink about it, force the publisher to make errata, put out like rules, cheat sheets, things like that. I think I know the answer, but Shadows over Camelot or Battlestar Galactica, if I had to pick one to start with. Well, I cannot speak for you. For me, you can watch my top 100, and you'll see that I've got Battlestar Galactica pretty far up or down the list, however you want to say it, but Shadows over Camelot is still in my top 10. So Shadows over Camelot is my preferential game there. But I'm coming from the perspective of I like fantasy better. I like I don't have a particular attachment to Battlestar Galactica the series. So if I did love the series, that might make it higher. And maybe you like Battlestar Galactica, the series, and sci-fi in general more than you like King Arthur and Camelot and fantasy settings. Okay, so there's that. There's also a question of time. Battlestar Galactica takes more time than Shadows over Camelot does. It's time well spent, but for me, I'd rather play a shorter game that gives me some of that feeling. Maybe your group is different. If you have a group of people who has no problem sitting down and playing a game for 4 or 5 hours, then Battlestar Galactica may not bother you at all. And I'm not saying every game of Battlestar Galactica is 4 to 5 hours. Sometimes it's 3 hours. So there's that. Whereas Shadows over Camelot, it can go long sometimes, but I've never had a game go over 2.5 hours. I'm just pulling that number out of nowhere. And I think that Shadows over Camelot is easier to get into and start with. So if you're picking it based primarily on that, if all other things are equal, I think that Shadows over Camelot is easier to learn. There's definitely more fiddliness and stuff to Battlestar Galactica by far. I answered the Twilight Struggle question already. I have tried it. It's fine. Who would win between Saitama, I think you mean to say, and Goku? We haven't seen the limits of Saitama's power, so we don't know. I mean, I saw that fight with, what's his name? The guy he fought in the last episode of the show. I can't remember the guy's name now for some reason, because it was irrelevant what his name was. It was just a guy to show off the animation of the show. And he beat him handily. But that guy that Saitama fought looked almost as strong as the Dragon Ball Z people at some point in the show. Like, he looked as strong as, like, Frieza or Goku. He could blow apart the planet, apparently. So he was, like, on the level of Frieza, probably. And he beat him easily. So, I don't know. I don't know. That's really interesting. I know that near the end of the manga series / whenever they do more anime, Saitama will probably beat someone that he can't beat with 1 or 2 punches. Actually, I think he still has the title of One Punch Man, because even the last guy in the anime, yeah, he couldn't kill him with just his simple punch, but when he got serious, he destroyed him. So... Do you enjoy musicals? If so, what is your favorite? I do not. I am. I'm not like one of those plebeians who like despises theater, but I cannot get into musicals or plays. Plays to a lesser extent. I'd watch a play. I'm not going to no musical. Maybe Hamilton I'd go to, but that's it. Or like what's the one from the South Park guys? I forget, the Mormon church one. Favorite 2-player game that plays under an hour? There's a few. Card games. I like Onitama. Seven Wonders Duel is pretty good. Has Devastation of Indies held up over the years? I'm not sure if I should get the expansions. It's still a great game. I don't play it very often, but that's more because it's 2 players, honestly. All right, am I getting to the end of the questions? I think I need to wrap it up, guys. Yeah, I need to just make sure I limit my time as much as possible. Nick, do you read all the flavor text on cards? Go over to my Facebook page. Earlier in the week, I posted I was in a magazine. Hold on a sec. Where is it? Here we go. I was in this magazine called Alt Om Broadspell. It's called All About Board Games. It's from Sweden. And if you go to this page, the article, well, if you get the magazine, which is mostly in, what is it, Dutch, something? So it's got a ton of articles. I mean, really thorough articles, but it's only put out a few times a year, that's why. But there's one thing here. Let me get to my other camera feed. So there's this article here, where they ask board game publishers or board game reviewers, do they read the flavor text? So here's Rodney, and here's Richard, and there's people there's the girl from Starlight Citadel. There's people in different languages from other countries. There's Tiffany Ralph, and then there's Joel down here at the bottom. And then there's me, which they used a picture of me from... I took a good enough picture that you can read the whole article if you go to my Facebook page, by the way. But they took a picture of me from last year that looks like I'm saying, "I'm fabulous," with my hand. And it's very, it has my old shelves behind me and games I don't own anymore. But Joel came out worse on that end because they took a screenshot of his that makes his hand look like it's phasing out of space-time. But they used our actual quotes, and of course, I gave the most verbose answer because, as we've been talking about on this Q&A, I don't ever do things shortly. The only person that came close was Rodney Smith, but I gave paragraphs of answers about flavor text, all about flavor text. That was the whole point of that. So check that out. D&D Attack Wing or Tail Feathers D&D Attack Wing. Have you seen West Side Story? No. Just looking before I finish up. What? Okay, and toil. I don't understand your question at all. Otherwise, I would answer it. Okay, I'm going to end it there, but on an awkward note. But thank you guys. We went over time, but that's fine. I love doing these Q&As. I love talking to all of you. I hope you enjoy it as well. We do these once a week. I'll be back next week with more fun and shenanigans and statements that are probably going to get me into trouble later, as I'm sure is going to happen after this. But hey, I'm used to it at this point. But thank you so much, guys and girls. I genuinely mean it because I love spending this time with you. So I'll be playing games tonight. I'll be hopefully doing some, my plan is to have like 4 reviews between the next couple of days. I don't know if this is actually going to happen or not. I'm going to be doing a lot of previews that you're not actually going to see for another couple of weeks, but there will be stuff coming. So thank you so much for bearing with me in my schedule. I hope you enjoy the content that I've already put out there. Take care.